Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyambura and this is 100 on Books. Today I'm going to be doing my June book haul, and it has 11 books, but I'm only going to show you 10 because the 11th one is the book by Odeon, which I shared in my media book freakout tag. If I'm looking off into the distance, it's because I'm looking at my camera person whose identity will be revealed in a future video. So I was recently in town in the CBD for a few minutes, and I thought to myself, let me go and see what books are available. Sometimes there are people who are out selling books at 100 shillings a piece. What's 100 shillings right now? Under $1 a book, $1 for context. So I went and found a bunch of books and I'm going to show them to you. The first is this one. It's an annotated bibliography of Asian American literature by King Kok Chung and Stan Yogi, which was made as part of by the Modern Language Association of America in 1988. That feels like 1,000 years ago. It's really interesting because it's not the sort of book I'd usually buy, but I think it would be an interesting point of entry with regards to books or essays or whatever that I could jump into about the Asian American experience. Then the next are two books by authors who I've not even heard of before, or at least I've not read from before. This author, this was the first time I encountered their work. This is Jiro Arasagi, and the title of the book is The Journey, translated by Evan Morris. This book was published in 1960. So, not exactly yesterday. So I'm interested in it insofar as reading Japanese literature, which I am interested in, but also from another time, from 60 odd years ago, to see what's stayed constant and what's changed. I also don't think I've only read one or two Japanese books in translation by men, so that would be interesting too. The other is a collection of short stories by Tessa Hadley. It's called Sunstroke and Other Stories. I've heard of Tessa Hadley, but I've never read her work, so they should be interesting. The next two are books by authors whose work I've loved in the past. The first is Amy Tan, whose books I first read when I was 18, and that was a while ago. This is Saving Fish from Drowning. So I saw someone else had it in her hands when I got to the shop, and I was just hoping that she would put it down so that I would pick it up, and she did. So, it pleased me. And the other is War Trash by Hajin, whose book Waiting I absolutely loved, and even had a standalone review on this channel as one of my very first videos. So looking forward to reading this. We all know how these book hauls work. Will I read them anytime soon? Time will tell. The next set is story collections or collections of essays. The first is the Oxford Book of Irish Short Stories. I actually have a story about reading Irish short stories. I once left my phone at a Pizza Inn in town. For people who live in Nairobi, it's the Pizza Inn close to the Hilton, because I was reading some Irish short stories and I was so enraptured. I just walked out of the restaurant and did not even realize that I'd left my phone behind, and only realized when I got into the matatu and I was like, where is my phone? Yeah, so evidently I have a thing for Irish short stories, and when I saw this I had to pick it up. It's edited by William Trevor. Next up is the 2011 Penn O. Henry Prize Stories, the best stories of the year. I love a good short story, and this, at the very least, promises to be interesting. There's so many writers in here whose names I have never heard, and I think sometimes when you're reading prize-winning stories, you start to feel like people who are writing in these fields, but maybe you don't, and so they should be interesting. And it's from over 10 years ago, so some of those writers maybe went on to write novels that maybe did not become bestsellers or whatever, but which maybe were well regarded, and so on and so forth. So they should be interesting. Then this caught my eye because I think of it as a book discovery method, same as the annotated bibliography. It's the book that changed my life. 71 writers celebrate the books that matter most to them, and it's edited by Roxanne J. Cody and Joy Johannesson. And yeah, so it's just different writers talking about the books that have inspired them. Ooh, this has like a nice little note from a previous owner. I love that about secondhand books. But yeah, and 71 writers is a lot of writers, as you can imagine. There are some who I recognize, whose work I've read. So your Elizabeth Berg, Amy Bloom. I recently read an Amy Bloom book, actually, and I'll talk about that in a future episode. Patricia Cornwell, Anne Lamott, Wally Lam, etc. Like quite a number of writers whose work I've enjoyed, and some writers who I've never heard of. So it's going to be discovery on multiple levels. And the last of that set is the best American science and nature writing from 2010, edited by Freeman Dyson. Yeah, and as the name suggests, is science and nature writing. I feel like BookTube has led me to more science and nature writing over the last 2-3 years, and so I'm interested to see what is between these pages. I think the only writers I recognize here are Tom Wolfe and Elizabeth Colbert, but yeah, there's bound to be more writers whose work I will discover and enjoy, and just some of the sections that sound so interesting: visions of space, neurology displacing molecular biology, natural beauty, the environment, and so on. So it's actually 3 sections on the environment: gloom and doom, the environment, small blessings, the environment, big blessings. So yeah, looking forward to this. And lastly, biography. Rigoberta Menchú, edited by Elizabeth Burgos Debre, which recounts a remarkable life of Rigoberta Menchú, a young Guatemalan peasant woman who, she's an indigenous woman, and we sort of hear about her life, what they call Indian communities in Latin America, and yeah, her journey becoming a catechist, her political journey, and so on. So I don't generally read biographies, but just the art and the fact that it centers someone who's not from the global north and who is not white drew me to it. So let's see. This is the winner of the 1992 Nobel Peace Prize, which just goes to show that some prizes we pay more attention to than others, because I did not know that Rigoberta Menchú won the 1992 Nobel Peace Prize. So that's it from my June book haul. As I said, I'm doing these hauls. I mentioned this in my May book haul, just so that I can be able to go back in the future and say how many of these books did I read, where are they now, what was my experience, and so on and so forth. So yeah, tell me if you found any interesting books in June of this year, if you bought any interesting books, if you borrowed any interesting books also, because one of the things I'm hoping to start doing is a library check-in where I talk about the books that are on hold, the books that I'm currently reading, and so on, because that's generally how I obtain a lot of my books. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Please, please, my camera person is distracting me. Camera person, please relax. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and all the good things, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching this video.